Just one question, Josephine, just on the application for chill. I don't care which one you have first on the agenda. At first, I thought I saw it as bar tavern, and then it says on premise.
Yeah, I believe it's on premise.
Okay, that's what I saw that written in two different places. I just wanted to be sure that, for the recorded Zoom, that we have the one that you believe is correct.
Okay, so we're recording, and first on the agenda is Red Bull, so.
Okay, that's fine.
The attorney is here, Terrence Flynn, and I believe the applicant. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh, give me a moment.
Is the owner here?
Yes, I'm here. Hi,
Hi, how are you? It's Vivian Chan, correct?
Vivian Chen.
Chen or Chan?
Chen, CHAN.
A-N, perfect. Got it right.
Okay, so first on the agenda is Red, new SLA liquor, wine, beer, cider license at Red Bull Chinese Restaurant, doing business as Red Bull, 8518-8520 3rd Avenue.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. The applicants, as well as, of course, our volunteer board members. Always great to see you. I wish we were meeting in person, but this will have to do for now. And also, officer, thank you for coming. Good to be with you. As Josephine said, this is it's a transfer of application, correct, Josephine?
No, this is a new license.
It's a new license. So I thought I saw that this was a transfer from the 208 Bedford Avenue, a restaurant of the same address.
I'm sorry, I must have missed that. Terry, maybe Terry, you could address that? Oh, you're on mute, Terry. I'm sorry, you're on mute. You're still on mute.
How is that?
Now, we hear you now.
Okay, I apologize for that.
That's fine.
They are in a contract to buy the assets and the business along with the lease from the previous licensee who is in the space, who was the Pearl Room. So it is a transfer application. Technically, it's also a new application in that they have to make their own application. But they are buying the business from an existing licensee. The premises has been licensed for some time. They're going to operate a Chinese restaurant at this location. The hours are very, very reasonable in that they will close at 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 12 a.m. on Friday and Saturday.
Right.
We provided you with the diagram of the premise. We provide you with a copy of the menu, the certificate of occupancy, several photos of the inside of the premise, and photos of the postings that were done. There is only background music here. There is no outside area. There is no live music. There's no DJ, and there is no dancing. There is no use of promoters. There is no renting out of the entire place for private parties. And there will be no cabaret license here. Any other questions you have, we'll be more than happy to answer.
It looks like you've taken my script, Terrence.
I'm sorry.
You've taken my script. I spent a lot of time doing this for free. So Terrence is correct in all of that. Menu, photos, floor plan, the C of O is there. And this is the premise of what was known as the Pearl Room. Vivian, would you like to tell us something about yourself and your experience?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I am a previous owner. I have my previous location is on 208 Bedford Avenue in Williamsburg. I operated a Chinese restaurant also, and the restaurant we've been open for 12 years. We just closed down before the pandemic because we were uncertain, don't know what happened. Just want to make sure everybody's, all my staff and everybody's like safe. So I closed down my business on last March. So, and then we just like staying home, and I have a grandchild, taking care of them. Yeah. And then, and my husband decided to open. We saw the location, and actually we want to open something close by our house. I live down in Waysand. So we saw this location and we love it and just want to decide to open a restaurant, and it's gonna be like a full service restaurant, and not like and we have to opening hour as right now we have it on for 12 to 11. So probably during the pandemic we will probably close like maybe at 10, a little early than usual. And yeah, and we will just have a full bar, regular like Chinese family full service.
And you were sure this is not going to turn into a karaoke house?
Oh no.
Okay.
No, we go to karaoke house.
Okay. Okay, maybe one day you'll take me.
Yeah, my husband's on my side. He's like, no,
Okay.
yep.
Beautiful, thank you. Committee members? Anything you'd like to ask of the attorney or Mrs. Chan? Okay, seeing there is no questions on this application. I'm sure Terrence told you that what the committee does is that we move to deny the application always, unless you are willing to agree to stipulations, which are recommendations. So we say no, unless you say, okay, I'll follow these rules, which are very much what Terrence said already, that you will operate as a restaurant, that there will be no sale or consumption of alcohol on the premises until appropriate authorization is issued by the SLA, that as you asked, the hours of operation be Sunday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. The doors and windows are to remain closed in coordination with any amplified music. There will be only background recorded music, and the sound level will remain below the level permitted by the New York City Noise Code. There will be no music on the outside of the premises, and there will be no use of outdoor space. Are you planning on using an outdoor space? I thought I saw no.
Outdoor space, no. There's a garden at the back, but we probably will have like just a couple table for, maybe a garden at the back. Maybe.
No, it were in the front also.
The front, no. Mhm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you're going to use the garden in the back or not?
It just, the garden have just a small area, maybe have like couple, like 2 or 3 tables back there. I'm not sure. Yeah, but right now we are, still.
All right, so you're going to look at your application.
Mhm.
Joseph, can you make note of this? Because it does say no outdoor use.
No. there
Okay.
isn't.
What?
I don't believe there's any outdoor use other than there's no room for a sidewalk cafe in the front.
Well, she's talking about the
No.
back also. She's speaking about the back.
Well,
The
just,
back of
just
the-
for the record, we can't take any of the back that's outside because that's not in the current license. So we would technically have to add that later. So there should be no outside area on this application.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
then we don't use.
That's the way it was written. It said no outdoor use on the application.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so maybe when it's time for renewal, Mrs. Chen, you may want to reconsider and just change your renewal. If
Oh,
all things work
okay.
out, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Mhm.
That there shall not be any use of promoters or promoted events.
No.
That there's no smoking. And
No.
there's something that we've been doing lately, that there will be 20% glazing, which basically that's a technical term, meaning that you will leave about 20% of your front windows so that people can see in.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
Because some places, they cover up the whole entire windows. So
Oh,
nobody
no.
can see in case of an emergency, in case something is going on that shouldn't be, that the police and the neighborhood could see in up to 20% of your windows of room where we could see in.
Oh, no, no, no. We want to we want people to stay inside.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no.
And that if you were to change your method of operation, if you wanted to change your restaurant, that you will give notice and meet with the community board at least 45 days in advance of any such change.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
All right, so Josephine will speak with you and call you in. But like I said, it's written to deny this application, but you have agreed to these stipulations, so all should be good for you. So the committee members see right now a ballot, so to speak. So you're voting on the motion to accept this.
I don't think that's the right ballot. I just want to say it has Chill Corp.
Ah, it says chill. Ah,
Yeah.
Give me a moment. Sorry about that. Okay,
here we go.
okay. Everyone's voted. Motion carries. Unanimous.
Very nice. We wish
Thank
you
you.
luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a-
Welcome, Terry. So we'll be in touch, Terry. The board meeting is on Monday, the 20th, I believe, or I'm sorry, the 18th, Monday, the 18th at 7 PM. So the full board will vote on it, and then we'll be in touch with you to get the signed stipulation agreement.
Thank you so much. Have a very nice evening.
Thank you
You're
very
very
much.
Thank
welcome.
you, Terrence.
Yeah.
So long.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Yep.
Okay.
So Barbara, I prepared a couple of slides if you want me to go through them.
Sure, you can do that first.
So this is a review of SLA liquor, wine, beer, cider at Chill Bar and Hookah Lounge, 7810 Fifth Avenue. So Community Board 10 reviews all renewal notifications and calendars those that have either adverse history in the 2-year renewal period or community complaints or 311s. There is a signed stipulation agreement on this establishment when the owner first came to us. So for this 2021 renewal, there were resident concerns raised to the district office, quality of life and safety concerns, noise, patron fighting, disorderly groups outside. We did a review of 311 and 911 history from April 2019 to the present. There were 34 311 calls, 911 directed visibility patrol calls were provided to us by the precinct from October 20 through 2021. A directed visibility patrol is when the precinct directs patrol to heavily trafficked SLA locations that draw crowds. So there were 51 directed visibility patrol visits during that calendar year. There were 2 reports of shots fired, October of 2020 and October of 2021. There was an additional call in March of 21 that was unfounded. In July of 2021 and February of 21, there were 2 aided cases. 311 calls reflect noise, loud music, loud talking, illegal fireworks, and these are all complaints that were filed, smoking, and non-compliance with phased reopening. So just a quick review of the SLA adverse history. We did contact the State Liquor Authority. There were 4 SLA referrals that were issued in August of 2020. And they are failure to exercise a high degree of supervision over the conduct of licensed business, kept liquors and wines upon the licensed premise serving alcoholic popsicles, did not conform to applicable building codes, and did not conform to the governor's order. In March of 2019, there was a disorderly premise referral and a $2,500 fine was paid. So Community Board 10 did a public notice, as we do for all renewals that contain adverse history. In response, we received 5 emails and 4 telephone calls, which I did forward tonight to members of the Police and Public Safety Committee. Each of the emails just describe, you know, I mean, I could go through them really quickly. I took snippets of them. Please do not review the liquor license for chill in light of recent gun shots, drunken and disorderly people hanging out in front of the building, and a constant flurry of drug activity. I urge you not to renew their liquor license. They feel there are dangerous activities and a lack of care for the neighbors have changed the shape of Fifth Avenue for the worse. An elderly woman wrote that she's afraid to walk past chill when it's open. The whole block smells terrible and rough people hang out outside, make me feel uncomfortable. Please do not renew the liquor license on chill on Fifth Avenue in light of gunshots, drunken and disorderly people hanging out in front. You know, others, and it seems prevalent that on the minds of everyone were these recent incidents. Every weekend and sometimes during the week, my family and I, not only by this assaulted by the disgusting stench of hookah, but a strong smell of fire. If we do not close all our windows and utilize air cleaners, and the smell can be unhealthy. We often wake up and the establishment has a vent in the rear which goes up no higher than the store extension, which does not make sense. There is obviously something prepared in the basement. Doors are often left open, and there seems to be a blatant disregard for safety and comfort of its neighbors. Another resident said, I've personally been approached on the street with the offer to buy drugs. I cannot say with certainty that this is a direct result of chill, but it does speak to the element that it's attracting. Add to the 2 incidents of gunfire and you can see a recipe for disaster. Never have I seen a situation like this in our neighborhood. To be honest, I resigned myself to plan to sell my house and move elsewhere if nothing done to alleviate this nightmare. That is exactly what I plan to do. In addition, there was a joint letter that was sent by our local elected officials to the New York State Liquor Authority on October the 4th to Commissioner Bradley. That letter was widely publicized on social media. So Barbara, I'm going to stop my share and turn it back over to you.
Yes, Josephine, you know what, I'm not going to repeat all of the 311 service requests and things that you've said already, because the committee and our guests were able to see that. I might just, you know, do this a little bit more simply. I don't know, okay? I went through the entire file and it was quite thick. There is a detailed report from the last review of April 2016. So this is not just something that, you know, is happening within the last few months or the last year. There were numerous complaints from the beginning. So in the file beginning at 2016, it reviewed back to 2014, 2012. And complaints were stemming from the smell of hookah, emanating from the establishment into the street and into the back. That's because the doors remain open, and the people around that have the constant smoke and the constant burning. The owner has been spoken to about this, but nothing has been done about it. And the stipulations are very clear that the doors are to remain closed, because as the committee and as Mr. Sekele, you know that you signed a list of several stipulations, which were recommendations. But it says that you ought to be on the premises and supervising. But there were several instances where the police had to come, and I don't know if this is true, but it has come up several times that you were also arrested in some fights in the street in front of your store, at least 2 or 3 times regarding this. I don't know, you know, 2 or 3, but that has come up through some of the neighbors who have complained that they've witnessed you getting arrested in some of the problems that were in front of your store. That you would have smoke eaters, the adequate size and quality and capacity to filter and clean the heavy smoke, and that wasn't done. Also, the complaints that they believe that there is tobacco and marijuana together. As a matter of fact, Councilman Brennan referred this to the Department of Health in November 2020. Also, the complaints are about gambling events happening in your establishment. That you have an illegal kitchen in the basement and boiler room, and you received a Department of Buildings violation regarding that. You failure to supervise a disorderly premise civil penalty of $2,500, which you did pay. The alcoholic popsicles, not following the SLA and New York State social distancing guidelines, and of course the stipulations. And with that, we have, I know I have at least 3 or 4 letters, some of which are the ones that Josephine has, with the residents in deep distress from the smoke and the burning smell, and the disorderly conduct coming out from out of your establishment. And we are in receipt of the well-publicized letter, which is dated and signed by all 4 of our elected officials, summarizing the history of this establishment. On October 2nd, as you know, at approximately 4 a.m., just at closing time, there were several gunshots fired into the air. This is the second time in less than a year. I know that looking through the file, Josephine has asked you to speak with her, to talk about the stipulations. You have either not responded or you did not attend several times.
And that was a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is all, this is a history. This is not something that's just happening recently. As council, quoting once again, Councilman Brennan, several fines have been issued. You have not agreed to the stipulations, and he questions whether or not you are willing or able to operate a safe and lawful establishment. And in closing, in his letter, all 4 of our elected officials, Councilman Justin Brennan, Member of Congress Nicole Maliotakis, State Senator Andrew Ganaudis, and the member of the Assembly, Michael Tanoutsis, all have asked for your license to be revoked. So I bring this to the committee members. How do we as a community board not support and send a letter of support of that concur with their elected officials, that in the best interests of the safety and security of our residents, that this license be revoked? So be not revoked. So if anyone on the board can tell me how we would not go along with our 4 elected officials, I'm willing and able to listen. Any board members? Okay. Mr. Seckley, you have anything you'd like to say? That Mr. Seckley? You have to unmute.
Yes. Good evening. How are you guys?
I want to give you a chance to say something for yourself, but it's very difficult when you have a history like that, but we're willing to listen. We're here tonight.
Well, good evening. My name is Joseph Sicali. I'm the owner of the restaurant and bar. I just want to start off by saying I've been in this establishment for 7 years. I put my heart and soul in this place. I'm very concerned with the acts of violence that have been occurring and crime that has been occurring in the neighborhood recently. And I'm willing to work with the community board, law enforcement agencies to put a stop to these events and these actions. As far as the illegal gambling and smoking marijuana in front of the place, these are all accusations. There's no such a thing that happens on this premises. People smoking marijuana outside. We don't condemn this. We tell people not to smoke in front of the establishment, to take it somewhere else. I need help as far as control and all this stuff. We've spoken to Mr. Lieutenant Vincenti, and he told us to buy a scanner to start, scanning people's IDs, and we actually went ahead and did that. We have smoke eaters in the establishment to absorb all the smoke.
But you leave the doors open. These are your neighbors saying that they cannot breathe at night with the smell of burning and smoke. Every one of our letters say the same exact thing.
The doors for the establishment in the front and in the back are always shut because of the stipulations that we had. Last time we tried to renew the license, we had the similar concerns, and that's why they put stipulations. That's new stipulations to keep the door shut at all times because of the smoke going out. And as
That
far
stipulation from as of 2015 is the one I'm looking at.
correct.
That's not a new stipulation.
That's not a new stipulation, you said?
That's the 2015. That's
Okay,
already
so when
6 years old.
so when we applied for the license, yes.
Go ahead.
And
Bobby,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
And I would like my sister to speak on my behalf.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? I hope you're all doing well. As you all know, a few months ago, we were all pretty much shut down due to COVID. And coming back as a business, it was hard enough to get back on our feet, due to being closed for 6 months. We are very aware of what is going on in the neighborhood. However, it's not only just Bay Ridge, as we all know. This is crime that's going all over New York. It is something that concerns us, and it is something that we are trying, and asking for help from you guys, because you are the community board, to help us and give us advice on what can be done. But, to be quite honest, revoking the liquor license, that's pretty much shutting down our establishment. This is an establishment where we support our parents from, I'm there sometimes with my brother, I'm behind the scenes. However, I decided that I'm going to step up this time and I'm going to start managing the place, and I'm willing to work with all of you. Him and I have already contacted the councilman that wrote the letter to the SLA. However, not one of them responded back to us, asking them to sit down with us to go over what plan of action they have to try to help us. Unfortunately, this is not something that, is done on purpose or done, intentionally to hurt anyone. The acts of violence that are happening in the premises of the lounge, are not, it's not in our control. Yes, I understand that, it is right there and we're the only lounge that's open at that time. However, we are concerned about the rise of violence that is happening, and we are pleading and asking you guys for help instead of, taking that liquor license away, like I said earlier, which supports us and helps us support my father and my mother. We are asking for your help. We are asking, we reached out to Lieutenant Vincenti, like Joseph said. We asked him, he said, you guys are doing the best you can. You have security already patting down people. I do have that email. And he said the only other recommendation that he had for us was to order an ID scanner to be able to have, everyone's information stored. I have a picture of that if you would like for me to share with you. We already got the scanner. It is in the lounge. I reached out to, like I stated, the councilman to ask what their recommendation, what their action of plan, we are willing to work with whatever is given to us. We are willing to work to try to make this establishment continue, but just from, we grew up in Bay Ridge. I mean, this is our neighborhood as well. And the community's concerns is our concerns. And this is not what we are asking. We don't want this establishment to be shut down. You know, as far as the accusations, those were all accusations written in letters. And I saw that you had brought up Joseph's arrests. Those were all sealed, and it actually had nothing to do with the store itself. That was actually something, you know, that I don't need to go into details because obviously that's his personal life, but those are sealed arrests
And
that
they've been dismissed.
yes, that were
Maybe,
dismissed.
maybe then you should just stop there. Okay. If I were your attorney, I would say just stop there.
Okay,
You would
So-
just say nothing to do with this, because, you know, using the word sealed, I'm not an attorney, but I have many of them around me.
okay.
Just end it there. We got it.
That's it.
Okay,
I just,
we
you
got
know, it was brought up
But
that you
there
said
are
it.
certain things that we don't have to know. And the
Okay.
people at this committee, and it's also, you know, zoomed out, and people
Right.
don't have to know.
Of
And,
course,
you know, we're
yes.
not here, you know, to hurt you as people.
Right,
Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
being a teacher for over 3 decades. Okay,
I'm
I
a teacher
understand.
myself as well.
I understand. You know, when you grow something, whether it's a child or a student or a business,
Correct,
difficulties don't happen the minute that child walks into high school. The same way difficulties don't begin in, you know, 2021. Okay, what we've looked at is that, you know, from the beginning, Joe, you know, from the beginning, you gave the community board a very hard time in following the stipulations, in responding when I know that Josephine called and went out and wrote letters. You didn't respond, you didn't attend. And now the time comes where the community is upset with what's going on there. And Bay Ridge, although the whole entire city, you know, has its difficulties, Bay Ridge is still one of the safest cities. We have probably hundreds and hundreds of restaurants out there. We get very few complaints from other restaurants. So I'm getting the feeling that you're saying, well, it's everybody, everything, the plate, the city's a mess, and just don't pick on me. We're not doing that. In the year and a half, with COVID being in the middle of it, with you being closed for over 6 months, you have over 34 311 service requests, noise, fireworks, not adherence to COVID protocols, the complaints of the smoke coming out. I can't believe that these people are just making up the idea that there's smoke and burning all night long. The serving of alcoholic popsicles, you have violations that you paid for. The police have been there. And to tell you the truth, Justin Brennan is a councilman where he's very much for our local businesses. And there are some times where I've said, why doesn't he get involved and help us? And we've had to go out and talk to the owners or call them in, and they come in 1, 2, 3. Justin and the 4 other politicians have never, I'm doing this as the chairperson 3 years. I'm on the board for years and years. The politicians have never written in unison in one letter to ask for a business to have their license revoked. Josephine, have you ever seen that? I have never seen this.
Can I ask a question?
You can. I don't know if I know the answer.
Okay, you're saying, you just stated that, you know, the councilmen have went to numerous businesses and reached out. I just want to point one thing
No,
out.
Josephine has.
No, yeah, no,
I have asked Joseph, I've asked Justin, and he would say, you know, Josephine will contact them and she'll work with them. And she did, because I see him on the neighborhood. I'm like, Justin, this place. And he goes, that's Josephine.
What I'm going to say though, Barbara, is that we have not had an establishment that has had gunfire. The closest establishment we had was a very serious incident on 93rd Street where the elected officials, that was before Councilman Brennan was in office. But I would have to say that the emotion in the community over the gunfire, both last year and this recent event that just so happened to be, you know, after we had planned this meeting, the community outrage on social media, the talk of Fifth Avenue, everyone is very, very frightened, concerned about, you know, the most recent event, and they are afraid. and our elected officials are responding to that concern. You know, having an SLA license, you have a license for a controlled substance. That's an enormous responsibility. And with that responsibility, you know, comes a responsibility to not only your business, but to the greater community. And it's that greater community that has reached out to our elected officials, that has sought assistance. You know, people do it in different ways. They stop by the office, they reach out to their elected officials, they call 311. But when you have an incident that you've had two in 1 year on the same block, on the same street, there is an uproar and a concern. There are parents, there are children that live there.
Right.
And if a place is cannot control its premise, and it's you know, appears to the public that now crime or the potential of a serious crime can take place, then they reach out to us. They're concerned.
Right. And Josephine, also, you know, I sympathize with the idea that they're begging for help. But after 7 years of having an establishment, begging for help now that the council, the elected officials write a letter, the idea that you have security and a scanner and patting people down, that tells me that the clientele that's being attracted to this establishment is unsavory, unsafe, motivated for violence. So, you know, my recommendation, and the board members can just say, no, we don't want to go with that, is that we as a board write a letter in support of the elected officials to the SLA, stating that we concur and that this establishment license should be revoked.
Oh, can I
I'm
just
Barbara.
add
Oh, I'm sorry.
something? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt you. If you want to add something, go ahead, and then I can.
Lori Willis is chair of CB10. Lori, you had your hand raised? Was that
Yes, yes, it's me. I'm sorry, I don't have my camera on. Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm currently the chair of Community Board 10. I was previously the chair of the Police and Public Safety Committee for many years before I became chair of the board. And so I was involved firsthand with drafting a number of the stipulation agreements with this establishment. And I do want to say, I do recall a number of times when there were complaints, we requested them to come in on renewals. So this isn't an isolated incident. It's not the first time that complaints have been brought to the community board, and also we've attempted to relay them to the licensee. And the other thing is, and highlighting, you know, what many of us have said is that, and I always say this, Bay Ridge, we tolerate a lot from our neighbors because we are such a close-knit community. Nobody likes to come out and say anything bad about their neighbors. But when we get the type of voicing of concerns that's occurring here, there definitely is a problem. And as a license holder, you have a responsibility to maintain an orderly premises and control what's going on in your premises and what's rolling out onto the streets from your premises. So it really can't be said, in my opinion, that this is anything new, that this is something sudden, or that this is something that's completely out of the license holder's control. And I do recall other incidents, a couple other incidents when letters were written by elected officials. One of them involved Level, which was on 3rd Avenue, and there were a number of stabbings there. So we only really get this type of outpour when we've really got serious problems. We're not talking about just some drunken people. We're talking about violence occurring in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to add that from a historical perspective and in terms of some of the comments that have been made.
Thank you, Lori.
Kathleen, you.
Yeah. So just in regard to the 2 incidents that occurred, the gunshots, they were, my understanding is they were outside on that block, correct? They weren't inside the premises, right? They were outside?
The first was shots into the premise, and the second was outside. You were correct.
Outside the room. So I just wonder if Joseph had anything to say about those. I mean, you know, I know he's cooperated with the police. He's given them footage from his cameras. I think it's only fair that he do address that, give him the opportunity to address it. And also the other thing I would say is just in regard to the letter, because it seems that that's the letter you're supporting. I just think it would be the right thing for him to actually be asked about the things in that letter. I'm not talking about noise complaints or smoke complaints, but I remember, I saw the letter quickly, but I remember seeing things like underage drinking. And I don't know of any fines or violations from the SLA for underage drinking. I don't know any fines or violations from the SLA or the police, because I do handle those, any type of thing for gambling. So, all of those things that are in that letter, I just want to know whether they're substantiated things or they're just statements being made or based on hearsay or somebody saying something, because that's the letter you're supporting. And I really think there should be some evidence behind that letter. I will tell you that I did handle the case for the popsicles. And I have to tell you, it's not the only popsicle case I've had. Many restaurants thought it was okay to take liquor and make popsicles out of them. The SLA has a strict standard that if you are having popsicles, they have to be bought and packaged. That's really what the violation is for. They have to be packaged with where they're coming from. You can't adulterate liquor and make into something else. So it's not an unusual violation, I have to tell you. So I think Joe should really address the complaints about the gunshots, and also if we can go over what's in that letter and see that it is substantiated, because I think that's important before you take a license.
As far as the noise complaints, I'm aware of the noise complaints. Actually had a few contractors come in the past couple of days, and I'm actually gonna soundproof the place because I have one neighbor which actually not lives directly upstairs above. She had complained several times. She actually has my personal cell phone number. I actually went on Amazon and bought a few things to soundproof for myself, and it actually didn't work. So I went ahead and actually got a quote from a company that we're gonna be closing down for a week to actually soundproof the whole place, so we won't have any noise complaints or complaints from any neighbors. Regarding the shootings, both shootings happened outside. The first shooting that happened, the guy was standing on the corner. Somebody from a car came and shot at a person, and they ran into our establishment. And the second shooting was after we closed. We let everybody out. We had the doors locked. The shooting happened. The security guard had left. We were shutting down. We were basically cleaning up the place when that occurred. And as far as everything else that's concerned, as she brought my attorney just brought up the popsicles, we were just, I bought the molds from Amazon just to try to make some money, because it was COVID. I had no idea they had to be labeled. We did, so we got the fine, we paid it, and I will never do it again because I didn't know in the first place you couldn't do that. So,
and I just want to bring up one other thing as far as not following COVID rules. The logs are all in the premises, in the lounge. I'll be more than glad if you guys would like to see it, to come in and see it. There is logs of everything, cleaning logs, the temperature logs that we took for all the customers coming in.
I'm making an accusation. That's from the
right,
SLA.
That's
the SLA. They issued violations regarding that. Joe, you spoke about that you went now to look and find ways to help soundproof.
Correct.
But you're doing this now in the last couple of days. I mean, we have businesses here. They do that the day they open their establishment. Not now in the last couple of days because Justin wrote this letter. I mean, I understand you're upset about this, but you wait until, something happens the same way you now have security. And like I said, if you're saying or intimating that the gunshots that are outside are not really related to your establishment, and the gunshot that went into was not really about your establishment, you would not be needing any kind of pat down for people who enter before the beginning, before the shutdown. So, you've had many years to fix this business and to make it become neighborhood friendly. You have not done that. Not now, 6 years ago. And that's the thing that we're really concerned about. And then once you get your license again, you'll go right back to what you were doing. That's my summation. Of course, your attorney will say you can't surmise that, and I understand that. But you've had 6-7 years of complaints, of violations. And even if they are inaccurate accusations, to improve the reputation of your establishment, and you have not done that. So Josephine, I have a motion.
Would I be able to say something before?
Sure.
Okay, as far as, it's not just now I'm doing that because now, because I have noise complaints or this happened. Moving forward, if Josephine would like, I would like to meet with her on like a monthly basis to see if there's any noise complaints, because, or any complaints from the neighborhood, because some of the complaints I didn't know about. Nobody came and addressed those complaints. So I would like to.
The 311 to the police department, but Josephine has called you several times throughout the years, and you refuse to respond, and you have, and several times you have not come to meetings. So once again, I have a recommendation on the floor that we as a board support the letter from the elected officials, and we also send a letter to the SLA that we concur with them that this license should be revoked. Josephine?
Yeah.
The committee, you can vote that up, you can vote that
You
down.
need a second, Barbara.
Okay, I'll ask for a second for that.
Nick? All right, you have many seconds. Okay, I'll put up the,
Any board members who want to, say anything,
any
if you
discussion?
think that, I'm wrong. I know I've spoken to many of you throughout the week about this. We have a second.
I just want to say something. I read the letters from the several people in our community, and I have to say that I felt terrible to see that people have to live with this kind of smoke and noise and concerns, and it really broke my heart.
Okay.
And now hearing that this has been going on since the opening of this establishment, it's really even more of a shame.
Right.
And I too support our business owners. And I think that you guys have just been asleep at the wheel, thinking that you could slide. And it's really heartbreaking. It's very, very inconsiderate of other people's lives. It's nice that you're taking care of your parents, but there are other parents around and other people that need to have decent lives.
Thank you, Ruth. Marty? I'm mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great. Here's my question. To the extent that you knew about some of the problems in the community, I understand maybe you didn't know about all of the noise complaints, but to the extent that you knew that there were issues that needed to be dealt with, why didn't you act before this situation reached such a fever pitch?
So because nobody ever came, the only complaints that were from before, from prior, were only noise complaints. The recent complaints that, well, I'm not going to say complaints, the letter states accusations. There are no violations that were given for any of the things that were stated in the letter. Okay, those are basic accusations and they are assumptions.
Your
So-
file states that these are SLA violations, plus you.
They
paid
are not
$35.
violations.
You also
So if
paid.
there are tickets for them, how come we don't have it? And
Oh,
our
no.
employer
What
doesn't
what
have it?
Barbara is saying, you were issued 5 SLA violations. And you're right, residents reported those things. Now you're saying that they're not true. You know, there are residents who say you do underage. We've heard from parents that say that, you know, their kids have been there prom nights or what have you. The 2 gunshot, you know, incidents are very palpable. You know, they speak of, you know, very serious crime potentially. And neighbors in response to that share their tales of what it's like to live by your establishment.
And I absolutely understand that, and I understand their concerns, and I understand what you're trying to say. But at the same time, we are trying to do better. This violence and the gunshots, that's never happened in the prior 7 years. This is only this past year. Okay.
Twice in this past year.
Twice in this past year, and both gunshots were not inside the premises, they were outside. So you were asking why we have security. Well, the reason why we have security is, 1, to check that everybody is over 21. That's what is required by SLA. And 2, because to avoid something like that. So
Are you on this license? I'm sorry, you said that you were going to be manager. Are you there day to day?
Yes, I am, day to day.
And are you on the liquor license?
No, I'm not on
No,
the
she's
liquor
not.
license.
I
I'm
was
the
just
manager.
asking that.
Yeah, no, I'm just the manager.
Lori,
Oh,
Lori Windsor.
I'm sorry. No, I accidentally hit that.
Okay.
Okay.
Jill.
I just want to have a clarification about hookah. I know we discussed this some time ago, but there seems to be a lot of complaints about the smoke, which is understandable.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit curious on why they allow hookah smoke and not regular smoke versus marijuana. Smoke is smoke. I'm not sure if it's because hookah itself isn't a carcinogenic. I'm not really sure. However, I just wanted some clarification about what the law is. And
Sure, I could
and
share
why-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't understand why we have hookah bars.
Originally, hookah establishments were permitted in New York City. Since that law has changed. So hookah establishments that were in prior to, I forget the year the law was passed, I think it was 16. It was soon after this establishment opened. So hookah establishments, if their majority is not derived from food income, are no longer permitted to operate. So it's only the handful, there's only a handful that are allowed to operate
I
because they were
understand that,
grandfathered in.
but grandfathering in smoke is like saying, okay, you know,
I would
you
guess
can
it's something
smoke
sort of like a cigar bar. It's cultural, it's something
Yeah,
that.
but it's
you
still
do.
smoke and it affects the people who live upstairs and it affects, so I just think as a
But if
community.
the establishment is legal, we don't have to agree with smoking.
No, I understand
you know,
that, but I'm
so-
just saying, you
And
know,
it was
this-
right, it was our community board that also worked with many in the community to work with our elected officials at the time to create this law.
I get
citywide.
that. I just, I'm in defense of the owners, and everything else I disagree with and I'm very upset about as well. Because when you talk about violence and gunshots, to me, there's no answer to that. You have to be in control of your establishment. But just in their defense about the complaints about the smoke, they're a hookah bar. I know that the doors are supposed to stay shut, and if they don't, it still goes through the doors, the walls, the upstairs, and I feel bad for the people who live there.
And these
So
are the
I think
people in the
that's
back.
something else
These are the
we-
people in the back. One of the
That
ways
too. I just
talked
think it's
about it,
something as a
just-
community we should bring up continuously and address, because I don't think there should be any smoking at all, especially with people living upstairs. So just in their defense with the complaints about the smoking. that's all
The
I'm
people
trying to
who
say.
wrote were not even living upstairs. They were living like in their
No,
backyards.
Barbara, I agree with you. I intend to
Right.
vote along with you. I know it's anonymous, but I could say that. But I'm just saying that it's a concern all the way around. But in the defense of that whole smoking situation, I just think in general, smoke should be eliminated and should not be allowed regardless of hookah, cigars, cigarettes.
And you know what, I'm going to say this, you know, I'm appalled at the behavior at this establishment, but I have friends who are Egyptian and they live in Staten Island and they go smoke hookah and they have a great time and it's peaceful and they bring friends and It's just a shame that, this establishment was not able to maintain a safe and secure atmosphere. And it basically, it does not have the quality of life of our community as a forefront, because we wouldn't be waiting until the elected officials write a letter to say, please help me. This should have been done from 2012, or 2013, 14, when it first established. So I know I have a recommendation.
You have a second.
I have a second. So please submit your ballot. You have your vote. Did you receive them yet, Joe?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, only committee members, please.
I don't have my ballot up.
Do you have it up? No, Jill,
No.
you don't see it? Okay, and you're
No.
voting in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so motion carries.
Okay. Thank you, Josephine. That's about it for tonight, guys, right?
That's it. That's all on the agenda.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I wish you all well, and we'll see you each other soon.
Thank you.